Let me remember to press the record button. So I'll press the record button now so we can really get going. So once again, welcome, welcome. Tuesday morning, can you believe it? Yeah, time is flying, especially when you're busy, and we've been busy. So yeah, great to have you all on board again this morning. Mpolelo has joined us now. Fantastic. Welcome, welcome. Okay, Lee. So you said open mic this morning. So what does that mean? You're going to have to wind the people up a little bit and see if we can get them going. So over to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am seeing a group of regulars. So people who have been part of our platform for days, weeks, months. And so you're into the flow of things. And so I'm expecting that people will bring their brains to this morning's session. And I'm wondering what it is that is in your thinking at the moment. What is bubbling up for you that is a current concern or thought or idea, a story, something that is stimulating you to think in a particular direction. And I'm not going to suggest anything. I've got something, but I would really like to hand over to you to just, and maybe even before Ivan picks anybody, pick yourself. Say, yeah, I've got a, put the hand up and say, yeah, I've got an idea, or I'd like us to wrestle with this a little bit, or I'd like to launch into this topic. So that's what open mic is. It's the floor's yours, and if we have an awkward pause or a moment or so, that's okay. We can live with that. We're big people, and so so I see Guy's waving his hand. I've talked long enough for somebody to think of something. So Guy, over to you.
Thanks, Lee. And yeah, I've just posted in the chat. So guys, ladies and gents can have a look. But I thought I would start off by saying the two things I've learned at our sessions here have been, one, I'm learning to understand the individual's different types of thought patterns and how they're thinking in front of the rest of the comfortable team that they're with, and trying to pick up on their different body languages, their eyes, their hand movements, etc., their shoulder movements, because selling in the virtual sort of world, and then you get people like Trevor who try and disguise it, but you can see through that, so you don't worry about it. So that's been quite a fascinating journey, because it's been a small team, so one's been able to pick up on those things, as opposed to other Zoom meetings where you go from time to time and there's a whole lot of different people, which is a different challenge in its own. And then secondly, the sort of subject matter that's been top of the mind awareness for most of the people here, in terms of driving us motivationally every morning, I suppose, and connecting with each other's, what's happening in their lives. And it doesn't feel as though we're virtual. It feels as though we're actually physical together. So those are the two things I picked up. So thank you.
Thanks, Guy. Yeah, Trevor.
Me? I had to comment after that.
You mustn't wave your hand, because then you get picked on immediately.
Trevor was just agreeing with me, Ivan. So
and now I'm in trouble. The last person I want to agree with is Guy Danes.
You've got to sit there with your arms folded or in prayer like Mpolelo, and then I'll ignore you. But if you start waving your hand, then I'm going to shout at you. So.
All right, but I certainly agree with the point that it doesn't feel virtual. This to me, and I think it's a great question, what have we learned out of this wisdoms? I just think this is such a wholesome communication mechanism. And for someone like myself that doesn't like dealing eyeball to eyeball with people, apart from in the boxing ring, guy, what what can I do? This gives a safety barrier. I know that you can't pick up your bat and smack me across the head when I disagree with you. But let me just go down the route of, I think something that I am honing on right now, and that's come out again for me out of this, and we're almost into 70 odd days, I think, since we began this particular project, is the difference between what I see as a vast majority of people who tend not to look for the good in something. And please, I've got to commend Ivan. None of us had a comment yesterday there, because Ivan shut it down, and I think it was the right time to shut it down. But I've really got to commend Ivan for bringing to a pinnacle everyone's life experience that is so different, and so inspiring in terms of their story. And I just know the depth of grief and sorrow in the Anderson family for that particular story. But I believe that it actually, it built almost an attitude of gratitude that whatever has happened in my life is nowhere near what has happened in that guy's life. And whatever has happened in Nazipo's life is nowhere near what has happened in my life. And whatever has happened in Stella's life, nowhere near what has happened. So the gratitude that I have for the storytelling that was brought to a pinnacle yesterday, Ivan, I can't thank you enough for that. And so that perhaps just rounds off to my point. I believe there is something good in everything. And I'm honing on this concept of look for the good. Every day that you wake up, it doesn't matter if a blooming asteroid drops on your house, in Mpumalelo, not mine. I'm going to look for the good. Okay, but that's got to be the most difficult thing in the world. But if we can wake up with that particular attitude, how does it change the way that we think on a daily basis, monthly, yearly, etc.? So I think, let me leave it at that.
Great, thanks, Trevor. And I think you can keep your asteroids to yourself, but otherwise, yeah, some good points there. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, and I think we've chatted about it in the past. I think you only fail if you fail to learn from the lessons that come out of situations, and so that for me is one of the ways of looking for the good in everything. There's always a lesson to be learned. There's always some value to be taken out of situations, and one has to develop a mindset, I suppose, to be able to do that. So yeah, thanks for that. Right, who's next? Who's next? Come on.
All right.
You are. Good, Mpalelo.
Hi, good morning to everyone. It's good to see you again on this Tuesday morning. I have to say, the first lesson I'll start with is, having heard Ivan's story yesterday, one of the things I learned was that to be able to connect with someone in a way that matters, it's always important to know their story and understand their story. And I think that creates a connection that is much more deeper because you understand what has shaped the person, what the person has gone through. And that led me, funny enough, to think about business as well, to say, I think it's my own definition. I'm not saying it's the right one or correct one, but I've also learned from that story that, we now live in the world where we tend to want to sell than add value. And I think that there's the difference between the two. Adding value has a lot to do with that. You hear somebody's story, you understand where they come from, you know what they need, and then you add value to that. Whereas selling has got everything to do with, I'm pushing this product, it's got to be bought. So that desperation of wanting to quickly sell and make that. Interestingly, that's the first lesson that came to me yesterday. But I'd also like to say to Ivan that I was gobsmacked. I'm very precious about children. It's the softest part of me. Kids to me are like, I easily feel when it comes to children. And I think your daughter find the right father in you. The life that you've given her, for me, and I think that moment you had with her was quite a blessing. And I'm sure at the beginning it did not feel like that. And I'm sure for some years it felt like, why am I the one going through this? But I look at you, I hear you speak every morning. You've got this calmness. You seem to be okay with life, and to have to go through that and be the person that you are at the moment, for me, it's like, that's the strength of that God put in the human spirit, to be able to go through things and come out on the other side and still be a not a bitter human being, a human being that can add value to other people. And I take that from you. And it's making me say I should continue the same. It doesn't matter what I go through. It doesn't matter what will come in the future. I must always look to come out being a better person on the other side and add value into other people's lives. And so for me, those were some of the lessons that I'm picking up from having joined Wisdom Chats. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Mpolelo. Really appreciate those thoughts and those sentiments. Thank you so much. Yeah, look, it's never easy when you're in the thick of it, I think. But yeah, it becomes a mindset thing, and I think that's really what we like to focus on here. Is let's get the mindset right. Let's find the right approach to all the challenges that we face, and we will come out better people at the end of it. And I think that's that's the real goal that we're trying to achieve here. So really appreciate that, and thank you. Yes, Herman.
Lee invited us to talk about concerns as well. And quite frankly, even though I wake up with good thoughts in the morning, Trevor, yet I'm very concerned. We have a beautiful saying, Umuntu and Gamuntu and Gabantu, which means I am because you are. But we are not living up to that as a country. And that is my concern. I've never lived in a country where people are not prepared to stand up for what is right to an extent it is needed. It's up to individuals who are willing to stand up, but it's not up to the collective. We can discuss, Forbes Chamber can have the biggest ambitions, and GIG wants to build legacy. If we don't have a country where we can build those healthy businesses, because the country needs to be healthy, or where we can leave legacies because there might be no country. And guys, the situation, I'm not trying to be painting a black picture, is serious out there. We've got ministers who lie, who don't get fired. A minister of defense whose soldiers kill an innocent citizen and is still in the position she is. I'm sorry, it is not acceptable. And if a president doesn't recognize it, then we have to tell him. And I mean we, not only Herman Funk. You might see some of my posts that I publish on Facebook and on other medias. They are quite hard-hitting because I think that is what is needed. And if I am very much into system thinking, if I see South Africa as a system can only be changed if the parts within the systems are willing to change. That means you, I, everyone, at least to a very large extent, until we have a critical mass to shift the system where we would like it to be. And for that, we need engagement. And that is what my concern is. I see that engagement lacking. If we carry on the way we are going to have a South African spring, whether we like it or not, because we disregard the marginalized, we overlook fragmentation. Please, I'm not a prophet of doom. As you know my age, but I'm working 60 hours a week on things which I believe could lead to change in this country. But it needs to be a collective effort.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Yes, Trevor.
I'm just going to say one thing. I've heard what Herman has got to say, and I asked the question, what's good about that?
Yeah, and I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves the whole time. You know, Herman, you picked up on a couple of key points for me there. The one is about building community. You know, this can only be done one person at a time, and you know, we have to start with the individual. I agree with you 100% there, but we also have to start with building community. And I think, you know, what I'm seeing too often is people flit from community to community. They have no stick-to-itiveness, as I like to call it. And I think for me, that's the absolute key. You know, people need to engage, they need to be involved, and they need to be consistent and persistent. You know, one voice shouting in the wilderness from different treetops doesn't change a nation, unfortunately. So yeah, I really hope we're starting to build that here, and you know, looking to move forward with a, as Trevor said, you know, the mindset that is going to drive these changes that are necessary around the world. It's not just in this country. Jesper.
All right, I think Herman's frustrations are probably true for all of us, but we are challenged in terms of how do we then react to it. And I can only speak for myself. During this, even before lockdown, I'm at a time in my life where I'm very much aware of the ongoing inner war between, and I want to call it fact and truth. And I know when I wrote my book, we had a long discussion about what is fact and what is truth with Trevor. But for me, it's becoming clearer. The facts are what you see all around you and being reminded by all the media. And you feel the physical effect in your purse and stuff like that. And yes, it's fact, but is that the truth for you? And I want to add the truth for you. So when you get so fragmented and marginalized that you are now literally part of the masses out there, then you can no longer think for yourself, and you then pick up the clues that the media allow you to pick up and what the politicians allow you to pick up. But in all of that, that's just the facts. The truth is different, and the truth can change facts. For me, I try, and for me, it's almost summarized in the whole thinking of one generation mindset, where it's about me, mine, I, and immediate survival, versus doesn't matter where I am right now. If I can get myself in the mindset of that founding parent, and we have a few examples around us in the world of where those founding parents had to deal with tremendous odds against them and their family, economically, illness, politically, whatever, but they survived it because of their mindset. So for me, it starts with a mindset to say, what do I believe? What is my core belief? So if I don't believe in a creator that has good plans for me and who put me on this earth for a purpose such as this, that same creator would also not just put me here without the resources and the means to survive and get through the other side. And right now, where I am on this journey, I may not see the road very clearly, but the same creator who got me up to here in my life is also the creator who will get me further. And if you don't have this mindset of look for the truth, look for the, or what Trevor would say, the good, then you will constantly be on a reactive basis, and you will react to everything that's thrown at you. Whereas if you have the mindset of the founder of your journey, and you believe without always the evidence around you that there are other people like you that are also building a future for the country, and at the right time we will be connected, and it will happen quite suddenly that all things will just come together, then it's quite difficult to lead your life. So I want to promote then, think proactive. What can I do with what I have, where I am right now? And I think if it was that kind of thought, and I'm strengthened in it on a daily basis. This group, for instance, wasn't there 90 days ago. Yet this group has already touched the lives of many people, but this group has already was there years and years ago, because the fact that we can tell our stories means we were prepared for a time such as this. Organizations like the Chamber, the Community Bank, wasn't there, but it was there. Because in our hearts, we always had that need to be independent. So I believe the work that Herman is doing in the field of agriculture and all of us do in the field of education, and sometimes you might feel it's insignificant and it doesn't touch, it doesn't do much. But even if you touch one person's life, the sum effect of that at the right time, I believe things will come together. I don't believe there will be a spring. Yes, I believe that what the media and everybody talks about it, and that's where they want you to operate in fear. But I'm excited that we have platforms like this, and I think in time it will grow. So I just wanted to say, for me, it's about a constant fight in my head between fact and truth.
Great, thanks, thanks Jasper. Donovan, let's come across to you.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, my thought is just about people, the value of people.
Cool. Donovan, unfortunately, you're very faint again. We still seem to be struggling with your sound a bit. No, we seem to have lost him completely there. Okay, Donovan, while you try and get that sorted out, let's go across to Stella quickly.
Morning, everybody. Yes, so first of all, I just want to thank Ivan for sharing his story.
Sorry, we seem to, Donovan, we're getting terrible feedback, I'm afraid, on your side. So if you can maybe just mute yourself for the moment. I tried to mute you, but it's not muting from the side either. So if we can just get back to Stella.
Thanks, Ivan. Yes, so I just want to say thank you, Ivan, for yesterday, for sharing your story. It really touched my heart because children is very dear to me. I actually don't have any words to describe what I felt when you were talking, but thank you for sharing it, and it really touched me. What I've learned during this period that we've all connected is that all the people in this forum has got their own story, their own challenges that they've had through their lives, but yet none of us are negative people or became, what's the word, just being negative. We all try and see the positive. And Herman, yes, I hear exactly what you were talking about. And I also feel very frustrated especially with what's happening in the country. But yet I feel the only difference that I can make in my small world is to make a difference in the people's lives that I come across with. And I think if more people have got that mindset of, if you start small, if everybody just do what they can in their circle and whoever they come across in their lives, just to pay it forward and to in that way impact people in your immediate surroundings, because it's so difficult. I don't know what is the answer to change the whole country. I feel like it's a losing battle to fight what's happening in your individual capacity. But if everybody stand together and make a difference in their own surroundings, it's got to filter out to the rest of the people of this country. And I so love this country. I know my daughter's overseas, my son is going to go soon, but I don't want to leave this country. I want to stay here. And so I'm very appreciative for the people that I've met here, because I think we all have got that mindset of making a difference in other people's lives. And I feel very privileged to have met all of you, because each one of you has got a special quality, and it's real people. As I said in my testimony, these are real people with real stories, and I really appreciate being part of this.
Great.
Sorry, I waffled a lot, but yes.
No, that's fantastic. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate the kind words. Nazipa, let's get across to you.
Hi, thanks, Ivan. Good morning. I think I just want to start with commending you, Ivan, for yesterday, for your story. It was a moving story. At some stage, even before you got to the later stages of Gail's life, I'd wanted to write on chat that, you know, Gail sounds like your angel, before I even realized that she had passed on. And I just want to assure you that you have an angel on your side, and she is there to you. And thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing your story. Thank you. I just want to, I think I echo the sentiments of both Trevor and Stella about how ultimately everybody has a story. And, you know, it's beautiful that we have this platform to share our stories, but like Trevor always says, you don't know how many people out there have also got their story to tell. Just like when you think you have it hard, there's always somebody that has got a story to tell. You know, this morning, I also want to touch on the fear concept. And I get the, like, you know, I get it a lot. This morning I dropped off my son at school, and just before I drove off, this other parent stops me and she asks if I'm a parent, and I say yes. And then she, you know, she comes and she says, you know, I'm a single parent and I'm scared. Are we doing the right thing by bringing the children back to school? And I realized at that moment that ultimately we are all scared. I think we trying to move forward during pandemic, but we are all scared. And I just like, in as much as that parent was reaching out to say she's not sure about what she's doing, and I said to her, I also wasn't when I started, but at some stage life must go on. I find myself that in a lot of things, like I've lost trust with a lot of people, including the guy that I would speak to every day. I can no longer just speak to him, because now what goes on in my mind is, how did you get to work? Where were you in the morning? Where were you yesterday? You know, it's that keeping the distance. I don't know. So it's that fear. I just think we are deep in fear. And, you know, somebody said once that our lives are either guided by fear or greed, as people in business. And I'm asking myself where I stand at the present moment. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Nazipa, and thanks for those kind words too. I really appreciate it. Cecile, let's come across to you.
Number one, I want to say, okay, let's just get right back to what this group is doing for me. Number one, I'm learning to interview people. Well, I've learned that 70 days ago. So I've learned to be patient, to listen to what other people are saying right through to the end of their story. So that's, my husband will say that's a good thing. And then number two, this reminds me so much of, it does feel like real people. It feels like a real group that we know. It feels like when you play in the squash league team, you play squash with them every day, but only afterwards, when you sit after the matches, when you sit with your league team or with the other opposition's team, you get to know their stories and you get to know them as real people, not as one-dimensional people. So that is so fantastic. Like I've known a lot of these people for a long time, but now I know them. So when I look at Ivan, this calm person, I know, my word, it's like a ducky. He's calm at the top, but below lots of things are going on. And you just so often just treat people by what you see in their faces, not knowing what is going on in their minds and what goes on. So that's been really helpful to me. And interestingly enough, what Guy has said about watching people's body language, it is also true when you talk, you can see, even in a small group like this, who is interested in your story or who not, who kind of gets busy with other things, or just the facial expressions or the shoulder expressions that people have when you yeah, thank you, Trevor. Okay, take off that hat. So yeah, so that is very, very interesting, and that you find a likeness with people in the group that you never thought would be, by delving a little bit deeper. Yeah, Sally, by delving a little bit deeper into their psyche, but while them delving themselves a little deeper into their psyche, you see, my goodness, that could be. That is so much like me, and it is often people that on face value you would not say that person is the same as you. So yeah, so I when there's not a wisdom's chat in the morning from 8 to 8:30, then I think, oh, my day is kind of empty. Because I used to listen to Ray Higdon and Manfred Winterheller and those people at this time of the morning, but now it's so great to talk to people this time of the morning, and then I feel, okay, right, my day is set. So thank you very much, Wisdoms. This is great.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Sally, let's get across to you.
Morning, guys. Wow, Cecilia, I'm feeling your energy today. It's actually so awesome. Ivan, I am actually now saying that I wasn't here yesterday. I will go and listen to your story on YouTube, and yeah, would love to listen to that. So I'll go and do that after this session. So this morning I've just been listening to everybody speaking, and been doing a little bit of reflection as well in terms of what this journey has meant for me in this chat. So initially, when I was speaking to Trevor and he introduced me to Wisdoms, I thought, you know what, this is not, you know, it's sort of how the thought came, you know, I thought, how can you actually start your notes on a positive day and sort of have, you know, so all those thoughts went through to me, went through my mind. And back then I was in a very different sort of mind space as I am today. So I really didn't understand how being part of this would actually improve the start or actually improve my day. And so I just went with it, and it has tremendously added. It has added tremendous value to each and every single day of this lockdown. I think I felt very lost in the beginning when we went into the initial lockdown, and I was scared and I was anxious, and I think that Jasper was so right when he says when he talks about you would do, you know, you were made for a time such as this. And I just believe that everything is coming together. Everything is, you know, so the amazing people that I'm meeting on this journey, the way my thought pattern has changed, and the way that I am able to influence people around me. I am currently staying with my terminally ill mom. I'm looking after her while we're in lockdown, and the things that I'm learning, I'm able to carry over to her, because she is, I think, operating from a space of fear, and I am trying to subtly change that for her, trying to, you know, to show her that it doesn't have to be like that. She's got maybe 10 years left, or not even 10 years, 5 years maybe, but she must look forward to, and she can look forward to. There's no reason why she can't look forward to the years that she's got left. And it's just, I think, a culmination of everything that has happened. It's just really, really been so awesome, and I've just absolutely loved this journey. Yeah, so it's just so awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thanks, Sally. Yeah, thanks very much. So Steve, let's pop across to you.
Thanks, Ivan. Sure, there's so many things I want to comment on. I think I'll start with, I'm sad that I missed yesterday's session as well, Ivan. Just to you, I'm going to go and catch up on YouTube. My diary just doesn't sync with a Monday anymore, unfortunately. So I'll only see you guys on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. But from what I've heard, I would love to catch up there in terms of what you shared. Sure. I think I'll just say this, and I resonate so much with what Herman is sharing. I think we do need to be far more aware of a reality. I don't like to consume news media that is overly negative or is only negative. I think we need to be careful of what we consume there. But I do think that the world, to some extent, is sitting on a powder keg, and we need to be very aware of that, and we need to be proactively working towards solutions to that issue. I don't think it's just South Africa. You can see the US is falling apart in many ways. You can see Europe is battling. It's all over the place. And that's not a prophet of doom statement. I think it's just a reality that has to be faced, and we have to be positive in the face of that. And so one of the things I'm doing at the moment, I've been deeply moved by the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement that has been going on through the US and is very much in South Africa at the moment as well, amongst other places. And so I'm getting ready to record a podcast with 3 guests because primarily I have an interest in deconstructing my own culture, my own sense of myself. And I'm going to interview 3 people of color and ask them to speak to me about who they are and what they understand about the world, and especially with respect to this Black Lives Matter movement. And then I thought that perhaps that might be helpful to be shared with just beyond myself. So we're going to record it as a podcast. And so that's something I'm doing at the moment, to just try from within my own sphere to change myself, because I think that's the only authentic change in the world. I can't change anybody else, really. I can influence people, but I have to watch myself and change myself. And that's for me on the individual level of the systemic change that Herman talks about. That's where it starts. And I can't ignore the collective. I can't ignore the greater problems, but I have to be able to focus on me to some extent, even though that sounds selfish. And I must change. And then it is through all those individuals that gain critical mass. It becomes the collective, and then change happens on a wider level. At least that's my hope. So if anyone's interested, I'll share that with you when we've recorded it and it's mixed and finally ready to go out there. But just reflecting on what Cecile was saying as well, in some ways I feel like this is a bit of a strange staff meeting in the mornings when I join Wisdom Chat. And there's a way to connect with some like-minded and some other-minded people as well that will push my buttons or resonate with me, and it's a great way to start the morning and just in conversation with people.
Right, thanks, Steve. Donovan, let's get back to you, see if we can hear you now for a final word, and then we'll end off with Lee.
Okay, let's give it another go. Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of how you work with people, especially in terms of business, the way you manage people. I think they call it emotional intelligence. So it's important to accommodate the person that you work with, taking into account their life experiences, their circumstance, etc. And if you get that right, I'm sure it will help in terms of producing good results. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. Glad we could finally hear you properly there. So appreciate that. Right, thanks, folks. Let's go back to Lee for a quick wrap up, and then I think we must finish off for the morning.
Ivan, Solomon hasn't had a chat, bro.
Solomon, you snuck in very late. Solomon, are you with us? Do you want to say something quickly? No,
You've got 30 seconds or 30 minutes.
We're not hearing you, Solomon. You're on mute. Solomon?
Can you see me now? Can you hear me now also? Anyway, sorry, I was still trying to switch off some fires here. I joined the meeting late. But I wanted to just comment a little bit about your story when you were talking about how in the beginning, where you were working. I don't remember which place you said you were working in, and you actually were climbing a ladder in a short period of time and all that. And I just thought it was probably such an amazing feeling that you were having, just being able to see victories coming to you in a very, very short time. And I thought I wanted to encourage you through that, because just your leadership and just how you're able to put everything together with Wisdom Chat and all that. It's been so great. So hopefully you still have a bit of that energy that you had in the beginning when you were doing that job, because the best is yet to come. Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Solomon. Appreciate that. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I've had the first half of my career, that was the first 40 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 40 years. So we full steam ahead for at least another 40 years with a bit of luck. So hopefully we'll get that right. Thanks. Right, Lee, back to you.
Well, thanks everybody. It's we have got into the swing of things, and we are able to pick up conversations from each other and with each other. And it's so good to know that the Wisdom's Chats is really beyond, I think, even what we'd hoped for. I mean, I think we knew it was possible, but the fact that we could gather this incredibly diverse group, and I think that's what I love about this group in terms of gender, age, experience, place of origin, culture, race. I look at some of the pictures of Zoom calls on LinkedIn, and I often see a homogeneous group, and I just really love the fact that this group has a sprinkling of representation from many, many different places and experiences, and it comes out in our stories. So I would like to touch on a sensitive topic, and I think we, as I say, we've grown up enough, I think the sensitive topic is the one that's glaring in our faces at the moment. Steve raised it, and it's the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And so I'm not going to preempt that conversation in any way. Although Mpumelelo, Nozipho, Donovan, you are the people, Solomon, you've been part of our platform and you know who we are. And I'm actually looking to you in many ways to guide us. And to give us some input or thoughts, maybe that will be relevant and helpful along the lines of what Herman's talking about. How can we build a community that makes a difference in this country? So that's the good that I'm looking to come out of it, is how can we establish something that looks and feels different to what seems to be happening in the world, is greater divisions, greater conflict, and instead let's build something that has more understanding. And that means that we need to be open. That's what Steve was saying, as he comes on this group, and there are people who are like-minded and there's people who are other-minded. So how can we allow for all of that so that we can all learn and grow? So I love that, guy. So that's where I leave it. So that's, if we can share around that tomorrow. Is that okay?
That's always up for a challenge. Always up for a challenge. So that's fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for all the comments. Fantastic day further, and we'll see you in the morning. Go well.
Happy days. Happy days.